The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council sparkled under artificial starlight as hundreds of alien delegates gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Veltara from the Kryn Empire stood at the center podium, her blue skin shimmering, as she prepared to deliver the most important report of her career. "Fellow council members," she began, her voice echoing through translation devices that converted her words into dozens of alien languages. "After 50 years of watching the planet called Earth, we have reached our final conclusion about the species known as humans." The massive holographic display behind her lit up with images of Earth, cities filled with tall buildings, green parks where humans walked peacefully, and children playing in schoolyards. The images looked calm and friendly. General Morth, a large, reptilian creature with scars covering his gray hide, leaned forward in his seat. As the Council's top military expert, he had seen many species prepare for war. "What did your teams discover, Ambassador?" Veltara smiled, clicking a device that changed the display to show graphs and charts. "Humans are clearly a peaceful race. Look at these numbers. In the past 100 years, they have signed over 3,000 peace treaties. They spend more money on hospitals than weapons. When two human nations disagree, they talk first and fight last." Murmurs of approval rippled through the chamber. The Galactic Council preferred dealing with peaceful species. They were easier to control and less likely to cause problems. "Show them the diplomatic records," called out Ambassador Zek from the insect-like hive worlds. His compound eyes glittered with interest. The display changed again, showing recorded conversations between human leaders. In meeting after meeting, humans chose to negotiate instead of attack. They offered food to hungry enemies, built hospitals in war zones, and spent years trying to solve problems with words rather than weapons. "Most impressive of all," Veltara continued, "is their behavior when threatened. Our scouts observed several conflicts where humans had the power to destroy their enemies completely. Instead, they chose mercy. They helped rebuild cities they had conquered. They shared technology with former enemies. They even sent medical supplies to planets that had attacked them first." The council chamber filled with satisfied clicks, chirps, and growls. This was exactly the kind of species they liked to find: weak, kind, and easy to manage. General Morth stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the front rows. "What about their military capabilities? Every species has some form of defense." "Minimal," Veltara replied confidently. "Their largest warships are smaller than our scout vessels. Their weapons technology is centuries behind ours. Most importantly, they seem unwilling to use what little military power they have. When faced with stronger enemies, they retreat or surrender, rather than fight hopeless battles." She clicked to a new image showing human soldiers helping civilian refugees. "Even their military forces spend more time delivering food and medical supplies than fighting. They have something called peacekeepers, whose job is to stop wars, not start them." The evidence seemed overwhelming. Video recordings showed human diplomats working late into the night to avoid conflicts. Pictures displayed human leaders signing agreement after agreement, always choosing cooperation over conquest. Statistical data proved that humans preferred trade to warfare, negotiation to domination. "Based on all our observations," Veltara concluded, "I recommend classifying humans as Category 7 pacifists. They pose no military threat to any council member species. If we need their planet's resources, standard subjugation protocols should work perfectly. A show of force will make them surrender immediately." The vote was unanimous. Every council member agreed that humans were weak, peaceful creatures who would never fight back against superior enemies. The official record was updated. Species human, classification pacifist, threat level minimal, recommended action, standard conquest procedures. As the session ended, exciting news arrived from the Outer Rim. The Void Reapers, a powerful, warrior race known for their brutal efficiency, were expanding their territory toward human space. Perfect timing. The Council would soon see their peaceful human theory proven correct. General Morth gathered his staff after the meeting. "The Reapers will reach human space within weeks," he told them. "Begin monitoring all communication channels. I want to record the human surrender for our military training programs. This will be an excellent example of how pacifist species behave when faced with overwhelming force." His aide, a young officer from the warrior planet Korthak, raised a question. "General, what if the humans surprise us? What if they fight back?" General Morth's scarred face twisted into what passed for a smile among his people. "Impossible. Look at the evidence. 50 years of observation cannot be wrong. These humans are sheep pretending to be wolves. When real predators arrive, they will run or surrender just like every other peaceful species we have encountered." The council dispersed to their various homeworlds, confident in their analysis and excited to watch their predictions come true. The humans would surrender quickly, the Void Reapers would gain a new colony, and the galaxy would continue functioning exactly as the council expected. None of them suspected that they had made the most dangerous mistake in galactic history. They had confused humanity's choice to be peaceful with an inability to wage war. Soon, very soon, they would learn the difference. The monitoring stations powered up, ready to record humanity's inevitable surrender. Instead, they were about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. War Chief Gorth's massive black warship dropped out of hyperspace like a thunderclap, followed by 24 other Void Reaper vessels. Their hulls were covered in spikes and weapon ports that glowed red in the darkness of space. The fleet had destroyed hundreds of planets, and their reputation for cruelty spread fear across the galaxy. Below them spun the human colony world of New Geneva, a peaceful farming planet with only 2 million people. Fields of golden grain covered the continents, and small cities dotted the landscape like jewels. It looked exactly like the easy target the Galactic Council had promised. "Begin. Standard subjugation broadcast," Gorth commanded from his throne-like captain's chair. His voice was a deep growl that made his crew shiver with fear and excitement. The message beamed down to the planet in perfect galactic standard language. "Weak humans of New Geneva, you are now property of the Void Reaper Empire. Surrender all weapons and prepare for slavery. Resist and we will turn your world into burning ash. You have 1 hour to respond." On the planet's surface, Colonial Governor Kim Day sat in his small office, watching the Reaper fleet through his window. He was a quiet man who had spent his life growing crops and raising children, but he had also served 20 years in Earth's military before coming to New Geneva. He knew exactly what those ships meant. His communication officer, a young woman named Park Sue, burst into his office. "Governor, we're receiving surrender demands from the alien fleet. They want us to give up within 1 hour." Kim Day stood up slowly, straightening his simple farmer's jacket. "Send a message to all citizens. Begin emergency evacuation of children and elderly to the underground shelters. Tell our militia to report to their stations." "Sir, our militia has only 300 people. Those ships up there could destroy our entire planet." Kim Day smiled, sadly. "Perhaps, but we are humans. We do not kneel to bullies." He walked to his communication panel and opened a channel to the Reaper fleet. "Unknown vessels, this is Governor Kim Day of New Geneva Colony. We have received your demands and considered them carefully." War Chief Gorth leaned forward, expecting the usual terrified surrender that came from all peaceful species. His tactical officers prepared to receive landing coordinates and surrender terms. "Our answer is simple," Kim Day continued, his calm voice carrying across space. "Come and take it." The communication ended. Gorth stared at his screens in confusion. "Replay that message," he ordered. "Come and take it," Kim Day's voice repeated. "What does this mean?" Gorth asked his intelligence officer. "The council said these humans were pacifists. Where is their surrender?" Below them, the planet's surface began changing. Civilian transports launched from cities, carrying families to safety in the mountains. But other ships were also moving, military vessels that the Reapers hadn't expected to see. Defense platforms that had been hidden underground rose into position. Weapons systems that looked primitive but functional powered up across the continents. "Sir," his tactical officer reported nervously, "we're detecting military preparations on the surface. They appear to be getting ready to fight us." Gorth's eyes widened. In 300 conquests, no pacifist species had ever prepared for Battle. They always surrendered immediately when faced with overwhelming force. Launch the first wave. Destroy their military installations. They will surrender once they see our power. 12 Reaper attack craft dove toward the planet's surface, their weapons charging for devastating strikes. They expected to find cowering humans hiding in their buildings. Instead, they found Lieutenant Park Min waiting for them in his small fighter ship. He had volunteered to lead the planet's tiny defense force, knowing it meant certain death. As the massive Reaper ships approached, he spoke calmly into his radio. For New Geneva, for humanity, remember us. Park Min's fighter was a converted mining vessel with basic weapons. Against Reaper technology, it should have been destroyed instantly. But Park Min had studied every report about Reaper tactics. He knew their ships were powerful but slow to turn. His fighter dove straight toward the lead Reaper ship, firing everything he had. The Reaper pilot laughed and prepared to vaporize the tiny human vessel. But Park Min wasn't trying to win a fair fight. At the last second, he turned his ship into the Reaper's engine intake and detonated his fuel tanks. The explosion tore through both ships, sending debris raining down on the planet below. The other human pilots followed Park Min's example, using ramming attacks and suicide runs that no civilized species would attempt. War Chief Gorth watched in horror as half his attack wave was destroyed by humans who fought like madmen. "What kind of peaceful species does this?" he roared. The planet's surface batteries opened fire, using weapons that were old but deadly accurate. Human soldiers who should have been running for their lives instead dug fighting positions and prepared for ground combat. Children who should have been crying were helping load ammunition. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the Galactic Council. They want a status report on the human surrender." Gorth looked at his battle, displays showing destroyed ships and continued human resistance. "Tell the Council their intelligence was wrong. These humans aren't surrendering. They're fighting back, and they're fighting like nothing we've ever seen before." The easy conquest the Council had promised was turning into a nightmare. The humans weren't acting like pacifists at all. They were acting like warriors who had nothing left to lose. The emergency alert system screamed across human space like wildfire. On Earth, in the deep underground command center beneath Geneva, Admiral Lee Sun watched the holographic displays showing New Geneva under attack. His weathered face remained calm, but his hands gripped the metal railing until his knuckles turned white. "Sir, we have confirmation," reported Captain Hanji, rushing into the command room with a datapad. "The Void Reapers attacked New Geneva 3 hours ago. Governor Kim Day is leading the defense, but they're heavily outnumbered." Admiral Lee stared at the tactical display. Red dots representing Reaper ships surrounded the small blue dot that was New Geneva. "What's the status of our colonial fleets?" "All commanders are requesting permission to respond, sir. The Mars fleet is already moving toward the outer colonies. The Luna Defense Force is preparing for full mobilization. Around them, the command center buzzed with activity. Officers ran between stations, communication panels lit up with incoming messages, and the giant wall screens showed human colonies across dozens of star systems. Every single world was responding the same way, not with fear but with anger. On the farming world of New Dublin, Colonel Park Seo stood before her militia forces. These were farmers, teachers, and shopkeepers who had never seen real combat. But their eyes burned with fury as she spoke. "Friends, the galaxy thinks we are weak. They believe we will run at the first sign of trouble. Today we show them what humans really are." She raised her rifle above her head. "We are not sheep. We are wolves who chose to live among sheep. But when our family is threatened, we remember our true nature." Similar scenes played out across human space. On New Tokyo, factory workers stopped making farming equipment and started building weapons. On New Seoul, retired soldiers came out of their quiet homes and reported for duty. Children who had never seen war helped their parents load supply ships and prepare defenses. Admiral Lee opened a communication channel to all human military commanders. His voice was steady and cold as winter steel. "Fellow officers, for 50 years we have been peaceful. We chose diplomacy over warfare, cooperation over conquest. The Galactic Council saw this and decided we were weak. On screens across human space, military leaders watched their supreme commander. These were men and women who had spent decades keeping peace, preventing wars, and protecting civilians. Now they saw something in Admiral Lee's eyes that reminded them of humanity's darker history. They were wrong, Lee continued. We are not peaceful because we cannot fight. We are peaceful because we know what we become when we do fight. Today, that choice has been taken from us. Captain Hanji approached with another report. Sir, President Cho Yun is requesting a direct communication with you. The main screen switched to show President Cho Yun in his office on Earth. Behind him, through the windows, crowds of people filled the streets. They weren't running in panic, they were marching toward recruitment centers and military bases. Admiral Lee, the president said grimly, I've just received a message from the Galactic Council. They're offering to mediate a peaceful solution with the Void Reapers. They suggest we offer tribute or resources in exchange for being left alone. Admiral Lee's expression didn't change. And your response, Mr. President? I told them that humans don't pay tribute to anyone. I also told them that their precious council made a serious mistake. They thought our choice to be peaceful meant we had forgotten how to wage war. President Cho stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the crowds below. Admiral, I want you to send a message to every species in the galaxy. Let them hear it directly from us. Admiral Lee nodded and opened all communication channels. His next words would be broadcast to millions of worlds across the galaxy. This is Admiral Lee's son of the United Earth Defense Force. For generations, humanity has chosen peace. We have been diplomats, traders, and builders. We have fed the hungry, healed the sick, and offered friendship to all who would accept it. In the foreign, the Galactic Council chambers, Ambassador Veltara listened with growing horror. The human she was hearing didn't sound like the peaceful farmers from her reports. But we are also the children of warriors, Admiral Lee continued. Every human alive today descends from survivors. We have fought ice ages, plagues, disasters, and each other for millions of years. We didn't become peaceful because we were weak. We became peaceful because we learned what war really costs. On Reaper ships throughout human space, War Chief Gorth and his officers listened to the broadcast. They had expected begging and surrender offers. Instead, they heard something that chilled their blood. The Galactic Council told you we feared war. They were wrong. We don't fear war. We are war. We are the species that turned warfare into an art form, then chose to put down our weapons because we were too good at it. The communication ended, leaving silence across the galaxy. Then slowly, reports began coming in from human worlds. Fleets that had been hidden in asteroid fields and gas giants began powering up. Weapons factories that the Council had missed started running at full capacity. Military academies that taught peacekeeping revealed their true curriculum. Advanced combat tactics that made veteran alien generals nervous. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest lie wasn't that they were peaceful. It was letting everyone believe that peace was their natural state. Captain Bay so gripped the controls of her fighter as alarms screamed through the cockpit. Behind her, 40 Void Reaper interceptors chased her small squadron through the asteroid field around Kepler Station. The massive space rocks tumbled slowly in the darkness, each one big enough to crush a warship. Dragon Leader, we count 40 bandits on your tail, crackled the voice of Commander Ote from the station. Recommend immediate retreat to friendly territory. Beso looked at her tactical display. 12 human fighters against 40 Reaper ships. Any sane military commander would order a retreat, but humans had stopped being sane the moment the Reapers attacked New Geneva. Negative, Control. We're not running today. She switched to her squadron frequency. All dragons, listen up. We're going to show these aliens something they've never seen before. Activate Spiral Protocol. Her pilots didn't hesitate. They had trained for this moment their whole lives, even if they hadn't known it. Lieutenant Park Jun dove his fighter toward a spinning asteroid, using its gravity to slingshot around and behind a pursuing Reaper. Sergeant Kim Hai fired her missiles not at enemy ships, but at the asteroids themselves, turning harmless rocks into deadly projectiles. War Chief Gorth watched the battle from his command ship, his tactical officers reporting losses that made no sense. "How are they doing this?" he roared. 12 primitive fighters cannot defeat 40 of our best interceptors." "Sir, they're not following standard combat procedures," his weapons officer reported nervously. "They're using the asteroid field as a weapon. They're ramming damaged ships into our formations. And their pilots, they're not ejecting when their ships are destroyed." On his main screen, Gorth watched Lieutenant Omin's fighter take a direct hit that tore off half his ship. Instead of ejecting to safety, the young human pilot aimed his dying craft at a Reaper cruiser and detonated his remaining fuel. The explosion took both ships into oblivion. "This is madness," Gorth whispered. "What kind of species fights like this?" The answer came from deep space, where Admiral Lee Sun's main battle fleet had finally arrived. The human ships looked smaller than Reaper vessels, but they moved with deadly precision. Instead of forming traditional battle lines, they spread out in complex patterns that confused Reaper targeting systems. "All ships, this is Admiral Lee. Today we stop pretending to be something we're not. Dragon Squadron has shown us the way. No mercy, no retreat, no surrender." The human fleet attacked in ways that violated every rule of civilized warfare. Cargo ships loaded with explosives rammed into Reaper battle cruisers. Medical vessels turned out to be disguised warships with hidden weapons. Even damaged human ships refused to retreat, instead using themselves as guided missiles. General Morth, watching from the Galactic Council chambers, finally understood their terrible mistake. His staff had pulled up humanity's military history, and the reports made his blood run cold. "Sir, look at these records," his aide said with a shaking voice. "These humans have been fighting wars for their entire existence. They've invented weapons we've never imagined. Their tactics manual has over 10,000 different combat strategies." The holographic display showed human conflicts throughout history. Wars that lasted decades, battles fought in impossible conditions, victories achieved through tactics that no other species would attempt. The humans hadn't been hiding their military abilities. They had been restraining them. They've been holding back, General Morth realized with horror. All these years they've been choosing not to show us what they could really do. The Battle of Kepler Station became legendary across the galaxy. Captain Bay. So, her fighter, damaged and leaking air, led the final attack on War Chief Gorth's flagship. She had no missiles left, her weapons were destroyed, but she still had one weapon no alien could understand: human determination. "This is for New Geneva," she said calmly into her radio as she aimed her crippled ship at the Reaper command bridge. War Chief Gorth saw her coming and screamed orders to his crew, but it was too late. Beso's fighter punched through the flagship's shields and exploded deep inside the ship's hull. The massive Reaper vessel broke apart, taking Gorth and 300 of his warriors with it. The remaining Reaper ships fled in panic, broadcasting desperate messages to their home fleet. The intelligence was wrong. These humans aren't pacifists. They're the most dangerous warriors we've ever faced. Across human space, similar battles raged. On every world, humans fought with creativity and ferocity that terrified their enemies. They used mining equipment as weapons, turned civilian ships into warships, and employed tactics that bordered on insanity, but somehow worked. Ambassador Veltara, receiving reports from dozens of battle zones, frantically updated her species assessment. The peaceful farmers she had studied for 50 years had revealed themselves to be apex predators who had simply chosen to farm instead of hunt. "Emergency council session," she announced with a trembling voice. "We have gravely underestimated the human species. They are not pacifists. They are warriors who chose peace because they understood what they were capable of in war. The galaxy was learning a lesson that would echo through history. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who loves war, but the one who understands it completely and chooses peace until peace is no longer possible." The human war machine had awakened, and nothing would ever be the same. The human fleet appeared in Reaper home system like ghosts materializing from nightmares. Admiral Lee Sun stood on the bridge of the massive warship Indomitable, watching the void Reaper homeworld grow larger on his screens. The planet that had spawned 1,000 conquest fleets now trembled beneath the guns of humanity's war machine. "Sir, "We have the planet surrounded," reported Captain Hanji. "All Reaper defensive fleets have been destroyed or scattered. Their homeworld is defenseless." Admiral Lee studied the blue and brown planet below. Billions of Reaper civilians lived on that world. Children who had never hurt anyone. Families who just wanted to live in peace. The same kind of innocence that the Reapers had murdered on human colonies. "Admiral," his communication officer called, "out. We're receiving a transmission from War Chief Gorth's replacement. He's asking for surrender terms." The main screen flickered to life, showing a beaten Reaper commander. His armor was damaged, his proud bearing broken. "Human Admiral, I am War Chief Krell. I speak for what remains of the Reaper Empire. We were wrong about your species. We wish to discuss terms of surrender." Admiral Lee's expression remained cold as stone. "You attacked our colonies without warning. Your fleets murdered millions of innocent humans. What terms did you offer our children when you burned their homes?" War Chief Krell's voice shook. "We were told you were weak. The Galactic Council said you were pacifists who would surrender without fighting. We believed their intelligence reports." "The Council was not the one who pulled the trigger," Admiral Lee replied. "Your warriors chose to attack defenseless farmers and teachers. Your fleets chose to target civilian shelters. Your empire chose war." On the bridge around him, Admiral Lee's officers waited for the order to begin orbital bombardment. The human fleet had enough firepower to turn the Reaper homeworld into molten glass. After what the Reapers had done to human colonies, many crew members wanted revenge. Suddenly, another transmission broke through on the emergency frequency. Ambassador Veltara's image appeared on the screen, her blue skin pale with fear. "Admiral Lee, this is the Galactic Council. We formally request an immediate ceasefire. The Council accepts full responsibility for the intelligence failure that led to this conflict. We offer complete reparations, territorial concessions, and formal guarantees of human sovereignty." Admiral Lee turned to face the Council representative. "Your apologies come late, Ambassador. Your mistake cost millions of human lives. Why should we listen to you now?" "Because," Veltara said desperately, "destroying the Reaper homeworld will make you no different from them. You told us you chose peace because you understood war's true cost. Prove it." The Admiral was quiet for a long moment, staring at the planet below. His finger hovered over the weapons control panel. One command would end the Reaper Empire forever. Justice for New Geneva. Justice for every human colony that had suffered. "Captain," Hanji stepped closer to his commander. "Sir, the fleet is awaiting orders." "I know what we could do," Admiral Lee said softly. "I know what they deserve. But I also know what we would become if we did it." He straightened up and opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, stand down from bombardment positions. We are not conquerors. We are not exterminators. We are humans, and we choose to remain human." He turned back to the screen, showing both the Reaper commander and the Council ambassador. "War Chief Krell, your empire is finished. Your fleets are destroyed. Your colonies will be occupied and your military will be disbanded. But your people will live." Relief flooded Krell's scarred features. "Thank you, Admiral. We will not forget this mercy." "Do not mistake this for mercy," Admiral Lee replied coldly. "This is a demonstration. We could have destroyed you completely, but we chose not to. Remember that choice the next time you think about attacking peaceful worlds." Ambassador Veltara nodded frantically. "The Council will update all species classifications immediately. Humanity will be given the highest threat rating and full diplomatic immunity. No species will be permitted to attack human space." President Cho Yun's image joined the communication from Earth. His voice carried across the galaxy as he addressed every intelligent species listening to the broadcast. "People of the galaxy, today you learned something important about humanity. We are not pacifists because we cannot fight. We are peaceful because we choose to be. We could have conquered this galaxy long ago, but we chose to farm and build and create instead." The president paused, looking directly into the camera. "But when our children are threatened, when our peaceful worlds are attacked, we remember what we truly are. We are the species that survived ice ages, plagues, and our own worst instincts. We are warriors who chose to become gardeners, but we never forgot how to use our swords. The Galactic Council's official database updated for the final time. Species, human. Classification, peaceful by choice. Extreme caution advised. Military capability, maximum. Threat level, galactic. Recommendation, never provoke under any circumstances. Admiral. Lee closed the communication channels and looked out at the stars. The war was over, but the galaxy would never be the same. Every species now knew the truth about humanity. They were not sheep pretending to be wolves. They were wolves who had chosen to live as sheep until someone made the mistake of threatening their flock. The price of that misunderstanding would echo through galactic history forever.